Hey guys, welcome back to the video. I'm Luke, a CFA Charterholder, and in today's video we're going to be contrasting single class share structures against dual class share structures. So yeah, let's get into it. So when we think about how much someone owns of a company, we typically think about the number of shares they hold and their share ownership percentages. And those share ownership percentages indicate whether ownership in a company is concentrated or dispersed. So concentrated ownership structures are where a few shareholders hold the majority of the outstanding share capital in the company, whereas dispersed share structures are where the number of shares held by the owners is widely spread. So no one shareholder owns a majority. The shareholding is highly spread out amongst the shareholder base, with no one holding significant control, no dominant shareholder existing. But what shareholder ownership percentages do not by themselves reflect is the control certain shareholders have over a company, whether that's concentrated, whether it's dispersed. So there's a distinction to be had over ownership versus control. So companies that have multiple share classes, so Class A's, Class B's, Class C's, with each share class having different levels of voting rights attached, give rise to varying degrees of control among shareholders. So how companies get around and establish control amongst certain shareholders is by creating multiple classes of shares. So the most simple share structure is known as a single class share structure, which involves one share holding one vote. So that's the most simple share structure that a company follows, but we're going to focus in a little bit more on dual class share structures. So dual class share structures involve companies having two classes of shares. So Class A. Class A shares carry one vote per share. They're typically publicly held and are actively traded amongst the general investing public, also known as outsiders, so people that aren't involved or employed by the company. So Class A shares are not held by company insiders, whereas Class B shares typically carry multiple votes per share, and they're held exclusively by the founders, company insiders, and those Class B shares are not actively traded and not held by outsiders. So what company managers are doing here by creating two classes of shares is allowing the founders and the key company insiders like the CEO to have a bigger say in key corporate decisions and key corporate matters, like changes to company bylaws, voting on mergers and acquisitions, changes to board members. That's what this share structure is really getting to. Company managers are trying to maintain as much of the control over the company as they can by increasing the number of votes per share they have and limiting the number of votes per share company outsiders, like external investors, have by restricting them to one vote per share. So dual class share structures allow inside shareholders such as the founders to continue to control the direction of the company. All the key decisions that the company makes, the insiders who hold Class B shares will have a greater proportion of votes available for them to exercise, which allows them to maintain control and have a bigger say on the strategic direction of the company. So even if those company insiders don't own the majority of the total shares outstanding, they can still maintain control. They may own less than 50%, but they may hold over 50% of the voting rights because they hold Class B shares, which come with significantly more votes per share. And Class B shareholders can avoid dilution of their voting power because if they want to issue new equity, they can just issue new Class A shares, because their Class B shares can sometimes hold 10, 20 votes per share. They're happy to let their ownership stake in the company be diluted, but they'll still maintain control because of the considerably larger number of votes per share that their Class B shares come with. So what it means is company managers continue to control board elections, votes on potential mergers and acquisitions, and all the other significant corporate matters, even if they own a small percentage of the company's outstanding shares. And Facebook is a typical example of a company that operates a dual class share structure. So Mark Zuckerberg does not own the majority of the outstanding stock in Facebook, but he and a group of company insiders do own over 50% of the Class B shares. So this is the key metric that you need to be looking out for in an exam when you're trying to find a distinction between ownership and control. If a shareholder or a group of shareholders owns over 50% of the Class B shares, then they will have control over the company, regardless of whether they own over 50% of the total number of shares outstanding. So as a byproduct of Mark Zuckerberg owning over 50% of the Class B shares in Facebook, he has effective control over all decisions made by the company. And one thing to be aware of before going into the exam, which is specific to the CFA Institute does not like dual class share structures. They are a strong advocate against them. They feel that dual class share structures allow one or maybe even a small group of shareholders to have an unfair or disproportionate level of power over a company. And the CFA worries that those shareholders that do hold vast numbers of Class B shares may pursue objectives to the detriment of all of the other shareholders in the company. So they could potentially override the will of the majority that own the total shares outstanding in the company to advance their own personal interests. So in jurisdictions where dual class share structures are legal, the CFA Institute advises issuers to clearly disclose that they operate this arrangement and make clear the implications of operating a dual class share structure to its current investors and prospective investors. The other issue with dual class share structures is it's very difficult for the minority shareholders in the company to overrule or change a dual class share structure back to a single class share structure, because naturally the voting rights sit with the Class B shareholders and they're very unlikely to want to give that power up. So if the minority shareholders propose a change to the company's bylaws to eradicate the dual class share structures, it's going to be very difficult to get that through, because those that hold the Class B shares are going to vote against it and they hold the majority voting power. So yeah, it will go to an extraordinary general meeting, and in all likelihood the Class B shareholders will vote against that amendment. So once a company adopts a dual class share structure, it's quite unusual and unlikely for it to pivot back to a single class share structure, because those that have the power and control the strategic direction of the company are not going to want to give that up. So yeah, that's everything I wanted to discuss in this video. That's dual class share structures in a nutshell. Any questions, feel free to fire them off in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next video.